Daniel, it's good to see you, buddy. Daniel David.
Hey Gary, how you doing, sir?
Doing pretty awesome, man.
That is great to see you.
It's good to see you here.
It's been a while.
Yeah. Been over a year, actually.
Yeah, it has. It has.
Well, I appreciate you doing this interview for all the students. We're going to share this with everybody, and obviously want you to share this with your folks too, because what you've done is you're following the model, you're following the plan. You know, you took one of the marketing campaigns, which is the basic workshop, and turned it into a pretty sizable group. So what I'd like to do here is just, if you don't mind, just ask you a couple questions.
Okay.
And then first thing is, if you wouldn't mind, just share briefly for a few moments, you know, who you are, who's Daniel David, and let them know the real you. So.
All right, so I probably have the most confusing name. My name is Daniel, and everyone gets my name backwards. My last name is David, and that'll be the only time that I really mention that. Mm-hmm. And so just forget my last name, just focus on my first name, Daniel, and we'll be great. Okay. So actually, I got started in real estate 3 years ago.
Okay.
And the biggest thing for me was my son. My son's 8 years old, but at the time I got started, he was in kindergarten.
Okay.
And I was actually a disc jockey, and so a master of ceremonies. So I was used to getting up and talking in front of crowds, and having a lot of fun using my entertainment background. So my son basically said, Dad, when are you going to stay home and spend some time with me? Right. And that was like the dagger that did it. And so that caused me to look for other avenues. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, real estate, weddings, there's actually a lot of similarities.
Right.
And so I got in real estate, and I just felt like I was this square peg in this round hole.
Yeah.
And then you actually came to our market center, which was great, and started talking about the numbers and the systems, and I just lit up. I mean, that spoke volumes to me. Yeah. And so really appreciate you coming out and teaching, how to become an investor agent. Okay. And so I had some investment property. And so since then, I've kind of grown that, and I can't thank you enough for what you've done.
Well, you're welcome.
All right.
Yeah. Well, real quick, let people know so who you are, and what a little bit about like what you're doing specifically. If you can think of one of the marketing campaigns you're working on that really works well for you.
So when the way that you broke down the numbers and just show like the cap rate, and it's a huge disconnect because most real estate agents, they don't focus on working with investors. I mean, yeah, they want to put a sign in the yard. Yeah, they want to help you buy. And oh, by the way, do you notice these drapes over here match the color scheme quite nicely? Yeah. And the guys like, most investors are like, okay, so what's the cap rate? What's my ROI? Right. And they're like, oh, did I mention this has a 2-car garage? Yeah. And I mean, it's just like this whole deer in the headlight thing. So being able to present a package that has just properties that I go and I find on the MLS, and it's not my listings; it's other people's listings.
So this is the booklet that we talked
about. Yes, the booklet, and then just putting those together with the numbers and the breakdown, and then I present that, and investors just light up because they're like, no one's doing this. How can I get my hands on this? And I'm like, well, I'll be happy to work with you and get you to where you want to be. And especially right here in Lexington, Kentucky. So, we're in a seller's market. So our buyer to seller ratio is 2 to 1. Mm-hmm. So I tell my investors, I'm like, if you're looking to move your property, now's the best time to do it. Let's turn it over and let's get you into some better investments with some bigger ROI.
There you go.
Yeah.
Smart move. You're exactly right. Today's environment right now, we believe it's going to be this way for an additional 6 to 8 years. So I tell people all the time, I think you should be focusing on rentals right now.
Yeah.
Flipping obviously it serves its purpose, but right now, my gosh, I'd be focusing on rentals. But so that's great. You're using the workbook. Now, one of the reasons I'm here tonight in beautiful Lexington, Kentucky, is I'm going to speak for Daniel's group, just briefly on how to locate the best properties in the best areas. And the reason this whole thing came about is because you decided wisely to use the workshop as another tool.
Yes. So what I can tell you is on those weekly call-ins, take advantage of those. Those are like gold. And so my first couple of call-ins, Gary brings up meetup.com. And if you do not have a meetup group, you need to get one. So I started one for, it just so happened the Lexington Association, Lexington Real Estate Investment Association was not available. I mean, wasn't created yet. So I was like, gold, let's take it. And so I started focusing mainly first on veterans, and then I expanded that out to friends, and then I just formed a whole new group on Meetup called the Lexington Investment Association, Real Estate Investors Association. And so I've managed to grow that group to over 160 members currently, and we add on average 8 to 10 members per week.
Yeah.
Just people wanting to get in, and they just eat this stuff up because
Right.
you know, they can go and attend those workshops. You've heard them on the radio. Hey, learn how to flip houses right here in your very own market, and they go, and it's the biggest time waste. I actually got a little bold. Me and another agent teamed up, and we went to those one of those investment seminars, and we caught people as they were coming out, and we were like, "So what'd you think?" And they're like, "Well, you know, it just seemed like it was a waste of time. Oh, by the way, did we mention that we host our own meetup?
Yeah.
You can learn a whole lot more. We're not going to charge you anything to do it."
Yeah.
And that's how we started growing. And I mean, it went over like gangbusters.
Yeah.
Now, the people hosting the seminar, they had no idea what we were doing, because once we got outside in the hallway, it was, you know, no holds barred at that point. If they would have figured it out, I'm sure they might have reacted a little bit differently. So we just started growing and just kept growing, and now we're 160 strong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that is awesome. And I just
Yeah.
want to tell you personally, I'm thrilled to be here. When Beverly said that you wanted me to come speak for your group, and you had at the time 140 people or somewhat back, and maybe it was 120 back in May. Then it was 140.
Yeah.
Now it's 160. And as a teacher, I mean, I'm honored to do it, and it's fulfilling for me when students really take it to the nth degree. And fortunately, there's a lot of students out there who are doing this. You're you know, for me, I come down from Canada. I can get here in 7 hours. I'm going to go see my mom 7 hours tomorrow, so it's perfect. And I get to go to Louisville and see places like Lexington.
Okay.
And, yeah,
That's great.
So, well, if you could talk real briefly about, so where we are right now, we're in Lexington, Kentucky, and obviously everybody thinks, well, my market's different. And what we know from teaching us from California to Maine and Montreal to Miami is, you know, every market is different, but the fundamentals don't ever change.
Yes,
Right?
that's true. And so the big thing in Lexington is we're a college town. And so everyone wants to be University of Kentucky and try to get those properties. And what I tell investors is that's where everyone wants to be. There are bigger and better opportunities in the outlying smaller towns around. And so I actually teamed up with another agent that took your class, and her and I together, using those booklets, we listed over 32 properties. And then we closed on those, and it was a little bit over 3.6 mil, and one investor bought it, and we split the commission. It was great.
Yeah.
And so that more than paid for me taking for Gary's class. So listen to this guy. He knows what he's talking about. You just got to follow the model. He lays out all the tools. All the hard work's been done. All you have to do is just, it's like, you know, here at KW, we say we have the best R&D department in the nation. And what's the R&D? Rip off and duplicate. So he gives you the tools, just copy them, use them for your own stuff, and then duplicate the methods. And I mean, then just sit back and you know, it's not like, okay, I sit back and I don't do anything else. No, you have to work. You have to do the follow-up. You have to go out, you have to meet the clients. And, you know, once you do that, it's like, wow, how many investors can you work with at that point? Because once your name and you make a big splash like that, you're going to have agents wanting to know, how did you do that? You know, hey, I want to get in on this, and you know, the opportunity to leverage some of that out comes in handy, and you can control all the strings, which, you know, makes it great.
Well, that's one of the advantages working with investors is you can be more in control of your schedule, your time, who you work with, who you don't work with. can't necessarily do that with owner occupants. I'm not knocking owner occupants. I used to work with them and I love them too. It's just the investors, it was simply an economic decision. I just made more money per hour per client when I work with investors, and Daniel's obviously discovered that too. Now we mentioned timing. We were talking about the way the market is now. It's a seller's market, and obviously we're some parts of the country are still actually digging out of the last recession. It's amazing. They have still inventory from New Jersey, New York, the Carolinas, Utah, Georgia, Florida, even Texas, and of course the Rust Belt states, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Indiana, Michigan, Illinois. However, we are in another shift now. It's a fact. We're actually in a shift, and in a shift, you've got to shift how you think of yourself as a business. You've got to leverage your license as an income-producing asset to generate multiple streams of income. And there's no other better way to do that in real estate brokerage other than working with investors. So when it comes to that, Daniel, and timing, everybody, we're all in the same boat, whether we're in Canada or US, we're very closely tied to each other. But as far as timing, are you seeing things pick up, slow down? Or like when you look ahead to the next 6 to 8 years, what are you seeing in front of you?
So basically what we've determined in this market, it can't sustain what we have. Right now we're under 30 days inventory. So we're going through the MLS every 30 days. And it just cannot sustain that. So there's going to be a shift at some point. And so, if you're a regular real estate agent that's going out there just working with buyers and sellers, you're going to have to adjust your business and prepare for that. When you're working with investors, it's like you get 2 or 3 great investors that buy multiple properties, and it doesn't matter if it's a seller's market or if it's a buyer's market, they're going to keep coming back time and time again because you're providing them great customer service. And you're the only one that can speak their language, because most of these agents out here do not speak the language.
So Daniel, if you could, if you wouldn't mind, I know we're going to have to get going here. You're a pretty good guy and you serve with a servant's heart. And
yes,
it's one of the hallmarks of us doing this. Is there anything you can think of? Just think of your best friend is watching this, and they have the desire to build wealth and income. They have the desire to use their license and leverage it for multiple streams of income.
Yeah.
Is there one thing you can think of that would help them, whether it's spiritually, educationally, whatever you think has helped you the most?
The biggest thing that's helped me is just knowing your numbers, know what you need to hit. And then being able to break that down. Some of the cool new tools, especially if you're with Keller Williams that come out, like the CGI and things like that, really help define everything, and it gives you your target of what you need to hit. And then, that lets you know, okay, when we apply it to the real estate agent investor, using those methods, it lets you know, okay, so I need to send out 50 booklets this week, and then then I need to follow up with them. Then I need to make my next plan to send out my next 50 booklets and have those prepped and ready so those go out the following month. And being able to leverage your time so you're not just working yourself to death. You've got a time block. Time blocking is such a huge proponent. And because we all have the same time. We all have the same 24 hours in a day. You got to sleep. You have to eat. Travel time, commute time to and from the office. There's and anything that you can do to kind of leverage that has been like my biggest thing. Just the leverage and saving myself time, and so I can go and enjoy. Like if I want to go see my son play soccer, then I want to do that. I don't want to be one of those parents that are sitting there and they're constantly on their phone and they can't watch the game because they've got the real estate business going on, so they can't enjoy that. Right. When I go to the game, my phone goes off and I'm involved and I'm in the moment and I'm living the life that I want to live. And that's one of the things that, your system has allowed me to do, because, it was like, I believe it was the second week you said, you teach others how to treat you, and,
yes,
and time block. And, otherwise you're out there and those investors are just like, okay, they'll believe me, if you don't time block, those other buyers, those sellers, those investors, they're going to eat up all of your free time if you allow them to do it. But if you go ahead and say, this Friday I want to take off, go ahead and mark it down on your calendar, okay? So if you know that you need to sell 3 houses this month to hit your goal and be on track, then, okay, what are you going to do with the other days in the week? If you take off Friday, are you going to take off Saturday and Sunday too? Or are you planning on, taking off Friday? Okay, now I got to hit it Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and just make sure that I've got my plan for the week. And so one of the things that I do that helps me is when I get up in the morning, is just to, before I get out of bed, just sit there and think for about 15 minutes, okay, what does my day look like? And then go ahead and write that down. And then before I get ready to go to bed, what does tomorrow look like? How do I need to do that? And you'll find out, and studies have shown that when you fall asleep, you will figure out how to get everything accomplished in your day. And I'm so honored that you're here. It's just what this guy teaches you. I mean, he honestly should be charging like double or triple for what he's actually charging you for his system, and it's worth every penny, I promise. Just follow the steps, and results are going to vary. Do the work, and you'll start to see your business just start doing this.
Well, the answer is you got to have a little faith, have faith in yourself, and belief in what your objectives are. If your objective is to get 110 transactions this year, then you need to let me know that, and we can plot that out.
Right.
But the other thing is taking action. I mean, you've definitely taken action, and one of the things we're really good at is we help people, self-study, group level, which is the weekly webinar you mentioned, and then the one-on-one strategy calls is, that's where the rubber meets the road. And if we can connect with people at that level, we call it the kitchen table.
Yes.
In your case, you're in bed, but that's okay. We'll just leave that there. But the point is you don't have to do 25 things a day. You might only have to do one thing. In fact, everybody should read The One Thing. A book called The One Thing. But when you focus on that and you do have that faith and you do take action, the results will show up. God has a way of rewarding you for having faith and taking action. You might get results from a place you didn't expect, but the fact is they're not going to come if you don't take action. And so that's what I want to commend you for, is you clearly take action. And the other thing too is I noticed about you is you don't stop. I mean, you have your plans, you have your schedule built, with your family's built in there too.
Yes.
But the thing is, you have one eye on today and one eye on tomorrow, and you're always positioning yourself for the next win. Since we spoke last, your group added another 20 people.
Right. Yes.
So in any case,
and we're not slowing down there. My goal is to we started at another venue. We outgrew that venue. We've been here for the past 4 months. And if we keep going at the rate we're going, we're going to outgrow this room. And then hopefully I'll be the one standing up in front of a large presentation room doing those investor seminars with, just throwing out topics and then just masterminding it and just having tables come up with stuff and just mediating that conversation.
Well, I think that's in your future, because I want to, next time you and I speak, I want to go through some strategy with you. I have 2 ideas for you. Okay. That I think you're going to really, really enjoy. So,
okay, great.
So Daniel, man, thanks again, brother.
Gary, thank you so much. It's been great.
You're welcome.
All right.
You guys, if you have any questions, Daniel's easy to find because he's KW, and you just go to kw.com.
You can actually, if you want to reach out to me personally, my email address is daniel.david@kw.com.
Yep. All right. Thanks, Daniel.
All right. Thank you.